Yeah, hello, good afternoon. As just mentioned by Chris, we wait a couple more 1 or 2 minutes and then we get started right away. I would say let's get started. Again, hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the first Dynamics 365 and Power Platform Interest Group. We have prepared some great presentations, so we hope. But of course, we are also happy to have your questions and remarks. Please use the chat functionality to raise your requests, and we will answer right away or right after the presentation. We will also record the webinar and send to you afterwards. For what you can expect today and why we created this special interest group, I would like to hand over to Chris Parks. Chris, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Ursula. And hello, everyone. So here's the agenda for today. And currently, the plan is to keep the format of this event standardized on a monthly basis. So we'll do a quick we'll give you a quick understanding of the purpose of the newly formed session. We'll then have an executive update from the QBS team and Michael Hartman, our CEO, on strategically important topics. We will deliver a conceptual overview covering some of the kind of the art of the possible, where we will highlight product capabilities and some of the more some basic technology concepts in a kind of a level 100, level 200 scenario. We've then got a partner showcase, which is where we will show a real world scenario where a partner has created a Power Platform application or a Dataverse integration to address specific customer scenarios or industry requirements. And then we'll go into a more in-depth technical briefing. So a technology update covering recent announcements from Microsoft or specialized topics that require a more in-depth level of technical understanding. But these sessions are nothing if they are not valuable to you as partners. So I would urge everyone on this call to please provide feedback on whether the sessions are valuable and help us understand what you would like us to deliver moving forward. So we're looking for things like, are the presentations too technical, not technical enough? Are they just right? Would you like more of some things? Would you like less of others? Is the pace of the webcast too fast or too slow? All of those things can help us improve what we deliver to you moving forwards. So the other thing on the feedback form and the survey link is at the bottom there for towards the end of the event or later. We'd love to know if you have something yourself that you would think should be considered for the partner showcase, so that we can highlight the great work that's what's going on within the partner channel. I think just to give you an update on the purpose of these, the purpose and the plan, it's really to help you go kind of zero to hero for Power Platform and other Dynamics 365 workloads outside of purely Business Central. Now, the challenge we face here at QBS, all of you on the call will come from different backgrounds, maybe management, sales, pre-sales, marketing, consulting, and so on. And likely you're also at different levels on your journey. So when we decided to run this more formally as a special interest group, we knew it would be a risk, but we thought better to try for you and for you to let us know how you would like us to evolve than to not try at all. So for example, in the UK, we also, in addition, run a separate bi-weekly exec forum specifically for our CRM partner community. And those are the smiling faces that you can see there on the slide. And if you look how happy they are for CRM partners, I think one of the reasons they're so happy is that they spend 45 minutes every 2 weeks supporting each other and discussing Microsoft, the state of the local market, many other things. And that's only one of the ways we can consider running additional activities to help you get what you need in relation to Power Platform. in your regions or your functional areas. So again, in order to deliver what you want from us, we're very open to your feedback after the session. So more on that later. But now I'm delighted to be able to hand over to our CEO, Michael Hartman, to proceed with the executive update. Michael?
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and very warm welcome. And thanks for making your time this afternoon. I don't know how it is wherever you are. I'm here in Munich. If I look outside, it's beautiful sunshine. So it at least promises to be a nice Saturday tomorrow. But again, I appreciate that all of you are here. And what I wanted to do is just give a very short overview of what I think are probably top of mind for many of our partners in the community, at least when I talk to them over the course of the last few weeks and months, what's top of mind and how we as QBS that run that community try to support and try to take those different streams of feedback in. So let me start, and I think from talking to many of you, it seems like there's almost I would say an evolution in terms of how we and the business application community are evaluating ourselves or are being seen in the front of customers. I think long ago, you could argue 15, 20 years ago, already this community started to basically present themselves not as being, product specialists for CRM or product specialists for ERP, but to really drive business processes and to advise and consult customers how they can optimize business processes, regardless if that is on the accounting side, if that is on the customer acquisition side. The business process was was front and center, and not so much the solution in the first place of the product. Now, arguably, over the course of the last probably 10 years, at least, it was all about the cloud and not so much just the buzzword, but really taking this concept of how you digitize your business, your entire business to market. And I think this community has done a great job in advising customers holistically how you can take your entire company and digitalize it, make it more agile, make the processes faster, get to better decisions, integrating customers, driving customer satisfaction, all those concepts as you can drive through a digitalization process and the cloud. So that was, to me, sort of the next step. And what I see and what I hear is that more and more partners find themselves now becoming consultancies for data, really, because customers realize that, one thing is how you basically create data. And we all know, the amount of data is just growing potentially day over day, month over month, year over year. But then the question comes, okay, what do you do with all that data, right? Start with concepts like, okay, what is the compliancy around this data? How do you secure the data? But then how do you access data in the right way? And I think most importantly, well, what do you do with the data? So how does that data help you to drive decisions? How does that data help you to acquire new customers? How does the data help you to satisfy your customers, optimize your processes, get leaner, get faster? And so I think the elevation, if you like, of the conversation these days is more and more around data. And that's what, makes probably a step change in how many of our partners are approaching and consulting customers moving forward. Now, next to it, I think we all realize that if you come from the Microsoft business application side, We used to be either a ERP type partner, CRM type partner, and then we were relatively, confined in that workload. But with my Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the connection to all the other Microsoft clouds, so the Data Cloud with Azure and the Business Productivity Cloud with Office 365, basically means that also the workloads are getting more and more complex in a way, and the solutions are entailing more and more Microsoft workloads and third-party ISVs. If you add to that the Power Platform that helps you on migration scenarios, that helps you to access data from different sources, that helps you to produce, quick and very fast mobile applications, the things start to become relatively complex, and there's a lot of work and time that you need to invest to keep pace with all these changes, which basically, in my view, puts most of us at this classical dilemma, where do we get more capacity? Where do we get more capabilities? And in our view, there's only three ways to get capacity and capability if you think about concepts. First of all, you can go and outsource your workloads, and you can concentrate on what you think are the core accountabilities and your core competencies as such. And there, we can help, obviously, as QBS and with our sister company, One Click Factory, to drive, outsourcing, migrations, outsourcing development work that you don't necessarily need to do, but also outsourcing, all the licenses and consultancy that you need to make a deal configuration. So next to it, what you can do is you can standardize even further. So most of you anyway have repeatable solutions and repeatable IP, but you can even take that one step further and standardize migrations. You can standardize the way that you implement, and the higher your standardization goes, the more capacity you get. And let's not forget also the use of ISVs can help you in a great way to standardize further and therefore get either capabilities or capacity. And last but not least, it's all about this community. You can, help yourself if you don't have the capability right now to team up with one of the partners. And, at QBS, we take a big pride in basically driving a community of partners that can connect to each other and can help each other if they don't have all the capabilities that they need and sometimes not the capacity that they need. So these are the three concepts. And what we try to do as QBS is make it now very easy or simple for you to access those services. So, in the past, we had different membership options for CRM type partners and then for traditional ERP partners. And we have simplified that all. So moving forward, there's only 3 levels of membership, basically determining how much engagement you want with QBS. So if you are more, if you do not want to get engaged that much and you just need access to our digital assets, then you're probably taking the foundation membership. If you want to have access to our partner success managers and our teams, then you take an advanced membership. And if you really want to work very closely with us, you want to do business reviews, you want strategy sessions with us on the technical side, on the business side, then you take the premium membership. All of these memberships come with our digital assets and our self-service around partner support, our events like this one, but also our QB shares and other webinars. They come with trainings that we have in our QBS Academy. And then you can access additional services around readiness, around the business acceleration, where we provide you with leads or where we provide you with strategy workshops, or the technical enablement, upgrade services or hosting services, and all sorts of engineering services that you can access. And these you can access with the services funds that are available as part of your membership. And of course, if you want to consume more, then you can pay for that. So that's an easy way to basically get engaged. But as I said in the beginning, I think at the heart of QBS we want to continue to build out and to strengthen this community. I'm a believer in the power that this community has. Over the last 4 years that I acted as CEO here at QBS, I have seen so many great examples how partners work together and we're able to serve customers in a way that none of us could have done alone. So I'm a great believer in that. That's why I really appreciate that you found the time to come together here today. And I'm pretty sure this will also drive a further aspect of our community. And I'm happy that Chris took that initiative. And with that, I want to thank you again for being here. And if there are any comments, if you want to contact me after the session, please feel free. Here's my email address, also my phone number. More than happy to have a chat. With that, I would like to hand it over to Chris.
Thanks for that, Michael. It's very much appreciated taking the time to give us that overview today. We're going to move on now to the conceptual overview. The kind of core part of these sessions, as I explained at the start, executive overview, then some kind of art of the possible. We thought we'd spend today setting the scene around Microsoft Dataverse for you all, helping you understand model-driven apps, Canvas apps, some of the terminology that exists within the new kind of Microsoft Power Platform. And I'm delighted to have Michelle van den Brink with me today, who's going to cover this. Michelle, are you there?
Indeed, I am.
And good afternoon. If you could take it from here.
Yeah, surely. I will happily take it from here.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at the Dataverse, quite an integral part of the new Power Platform experience, if you will. Businesses today are, after all, built around data, and we have so much of it, and continuously in our business processes, more and more of it is generated. We can now leverage various aspects of the Power Platform to act on that data with Power Apps. We can automate our business processes with Power Automate, analyze our information, our data with Power BI, and even learn from it, or have things, if you will, learn from it using the built-in AI builder capabilities of the Power Platform as well. The Dataverse really sits at the central pivotal point in that entire platform as the sort of database platform where everything comes together and where all of the Power Platform services run on top. We can either bring in the data from external, or we can house it internally, or we can use connectors to connect to things externally. So not everything has to live inside of the Dataverse. It's a very flexible ecosystem where we can branch out wherever we need that. So there's two types of data. There's the internal data and the external data, or there would be connectors for the external data, and the Microsoft Dataverse for our internal data. Now, the Microsoft Dataverse, you may know that already under its previous name, the Common Data Service, but that's sort of the old name. That we're leaving that behind, and we're moving forward with the Microsoft Dataverse. So why would you use this internal data versus using external data where it already lives? Because you already have data sitting somewhere. You may have it sitting inside of Dynamics 365 or inside of a SharePoint list or inside of some other application that you or your customers are using. So why should we bring it in? Well, because the Dataverse is so much more than just a database. It's a data platform. It's smart and it scales automatically, and it has security built in right out of the gate. Rather than setting up all of those things all over again when you're creating a new business app inside of Dynamics, for example, you'll have to create new tables and new security settings and new screens, and you build everything from scratch essentially. The Dataverse brings all of those capabilities right out of the gate, so you don't have to think about them. The Dataverse starts really with an API. That's the core of the Dataverse. But the API is first-party, accessible through all of the Power Platform, through our apps in Power Apps, through flows in Power Automate, through the AI Builder, and through Power BI, as if it's just a regular SQL server. But without all of that necessity to write complicated queries. You can use very straightforward expression languages to query things and to add records, retrieve records, etc. That API is built in as a first-party integration for all of the Power Apps capabilities, but leaving no one behind, we can also do that with the API directly. Right out of the gate, security and monitoring is built in. So whenever you find that someone needs access to certain areas, we can use security roles to securely assign privileges to users, whether or not they can access certain tables or certain parts of certain tables, or even all the way down to the field level, we can add the granularity as needed. Plus auditing and control, so we can also see what happened should something have happened that shouldn't have happened. Having the ability to see who changed what, when, and where, and even down to the level of who saw what data, when and where. Just in case you may suffer from a data breach, you will then be able to film back to the moment that the data breach likely occurred, because you can see that such and such user then exported 10,000 contacts for some reason, and that might be where it occurred. Not pointing any fingers, but perhaps they left their computer unlocked. Logic is also built in. Rather than the Dataverse just being a database with tables, much more is included with the Dataverse. It comes with logic built in. It comes with calculated fields built in, with jobs that can run in the background. And it comes with an extendable plugin model, so you can add your own custom logic to the Dataverse as well, written either in PowerFX, the Power Platform's no-code, low-code language, or written in a language you may already be familiar with, any of the .NET languages, being C#, VB, F#, you name it. As long as it compiles in .NET, you can add code to the Dataverse using something you will already be familiar with, including also with simple click and drag interfaces for many of these things, like creating business rules that determine that certain fields are required only under certain conditions. Data is automatically stored inside of a model that you define. It comes with both a nice pre-built model that you can already use for very common business application scenarios, plus it comes with all the modeling and tools capabilities you might need to extend this model. Rather than leaving this up to developers, now we're putting this capability in the hands of functional people. Creating a table is a matter of seconds, with adding fields and a variety of types, including data validation wherever you need for any kind of scenario that you might think, and everything that you are used to, like Power BI support and Power Automate support, automatically works for your new tables without having to turn on web services or anything like that. Everything immediately works right as you turn it on. Storage is also taken care of automatically, where structured data is stored in a structured way and unstructured data is stored unstructured. There's a difference between just your tables with the table information, things like your accounts and your contacts and all of your appointments and all of your orders. And then there's also unstructured things like registering your emails and attachments and all of those things. Under the hood, the Dataverse takes care of all of that, making sure that it uses the most optimal way to store either of those things, either in a structured Microsoft SQL server or inside of blob storage or file storage or whatever is the most relevant way to store it. And you continue to have access to it through one endpoint, through one API. There's only one way for you to query information through Power Apps or Power Automate or anything in the Power Platform, regardless of where it lives under the hood. And it extends and it integrates so well with everything else. The Dataverse is more than just a database that sits on its own and is only available for the Power Platform. It extends into the greater Microsoft ecosystem with native integrations for things like Event Hub inside of Azure, Service Bus, and also things like webhooks you can add, or just an export you can make to a SQL instance if you like, or to a data lake if you like, depending on what kind of data you're exporting. The Dataverse can be kept in sync with an external data source if you prefer that. So whether or not you're using the Power Platform, Visual Studio or Xamarin or anything like that, the Dataverse is always a great way for you to start with your data. So inside of the Power Platform, is this just a Power Platform, Power Apps, or a Dataverse? Well, it's a combination of all of those things really that make this platform really shine. So the Dataverse is included with all Power App subscriptions and most Dynamics 365 subscriptions, including all of the enterprise subscriptions and the Business Central subscriptions. It comes with a whole host of standard entities, or standard tables, I should say, that represent very common concepts. You can extend them very easily, creating your own custom tables, your own custom fields and relationships. You can configure your own business rules, easily import and synchronize the information, and it comes with a very sophisticated security model, as well as an API for developers. So Microsoft envisions that there is a world before and after the Dataverse. Before, your world may look something like this, with various applications all over the place, integrating with each other or communicating with each other in some fashion, because you have some information in your finance application that needs to be in your HR application and needs to communicate with all sorts of things, and you also need to do reporting, so you may have a data warehouse as well. This becomes very complicated very fast. So the Dataverse comes there to the rescue as a central pivotal point in a business process where you can grab all of your information that needs to be together and put it together in one central location, so that new investments in your IT business infrastructure can be made on top of that instead. So you have one view of your business data rather than having a very fragmented situation. It all starts with environments. Environments are containers for your business applications that separate various things, like your production environment from your testing environment. Every environment can contain a database, but it doesn't have to. You can have environments inside of the Power Platform without databases as well. That doesn't really serve a lot of purpose, but you do have those. Inside of the Power Platform, you can always see what environment you are in by switching them in the top right. This is very similar to environments that we know from Dynamics 365, but this is all with a bit of a Power Apps twist. Inside of your environments, you can manage all of your customizations with solution management. This is a concept that also puts the whole development and deployment of things in the hands of functional people rather than pawning that off to technical or developers. Anything you create in the Power Platform, be it an app, a flow, or a table, can be added into a solution, and that can automatically be deployed into other environments or even into other tenants. A solution is essentially a little project file that contains all of your things that you can easily export and import somewhere else. So you might find that you start out with two environments. You have your development environment where you create your app, you add your tables, and then you import it, those same changes, into a test or a production environment, or maybe even to one of your customer environments. Inside of the Power Platform, we also have data management built in. So those tables that you've created, you can also see them directly, essentially, looking at the tables, adding fields, etc. Using all of those different tables, we can essentially build three types of apps in the Power Platform. We can build model-driven apps. And these are the apps that you will be most familiar with if you've ever worked with Dynamics 365 sales or customer service or any of those CRM workloads, because they have already been built on this model-driven app technology for many years. Essentially, this was the Dynamics CRM application was the precursor to what we know today as the Dataverse. You start with a data model, being your tables, and you build on top of that an end-to-end business process with a consistent look and feel. That's a Dynamics 365 app, as in the CRM applications like sales and customer service. We can now also leverage this same technology to create our own end-to-end business process applications as model-driven apps, creating wholly custom functionalities or custom processes, essentially, with the same technology that Microsoft has been using for over a decade to build dynamic CRM applications. We also have Canvas apps, and Canvas apps offer you a far richer experience when it comes to the user experience. You start with literally a blank canvas, and you can click and drag together an application as you see fit, using any of 300 data services that are available to you. The Dataverse is, of course, one of those. You can use any data that you have sitting inside of the Dataverse and surface that inside of a Canvas app when you feel like it. But especially that custom look and feel is very striking for Canvas apps. But that's also kind of a downfall sometimes, where you might invest a little bit too much time in getting the things a little bit too pixel perfect, 1 pixel to the left, 1 pixel down, and the exact shade of gray that you need, because that's what your marketing department told you. Whereas the model-driven apps have a very consistent and clean look and feel, which takes absolutely no time to set up. The third type of app is portal apps. Also built on top of the Dataverse, sometimes you have data inside of your internal process that you want to share with your customers, or in this case, of course, customers of your customers. That's where portals come in. External-facing portals give customers access to the same data that sits inside of Dataverse without requiring a license for Dynamics 365 or a license for the Dataverse. There is a whole separate SKU for access to portals, which it falls into its own category, which enables all customers essentially to have access to the data inside of Dataverse. So whether or not you're creating an online booking system or a ticket support system or anything like that, you can use the Dataverse as your base to essentially create whatever app you would need. Let's take a quick dive inside of the actual application, because it's very nice for me to talk about all of that. Well, let's take a quick look at it. So here we are in the Power Apps Maker portal. This is the experience that you use to make your apps. On the side here, we can also see our Dataverse. We can see all of our tables. We can see all of the other elements that come with the Dataverse. By default, it comes with a load of tables already. So it comes with accounts. It comes with a whole bunch of AI models. It comes with contacts and a whole host of other tables. And in a matter of minutes, I can add my own table, just like this. Let's say we are creating a, I don't know, and let's make a process to ask for a leave of absence. So I'll need some kind of request form. So I'll say leave request, and I'll click on create. It'll quickly create a table for me. I can quickly add some columns. So I'll say start date. I have various data types to select from. So I'll say that this is a date and time. Well, maybe just a date actually. So I'll switch this over to date, and I'll make that required. And let's say an end date as well. I'll quickly create a date only as well. That's also required. And then I'll create a relationship to who asked for this. So a requester. And I'll make that a lookup, which is looking up information that we already know in a different table. And in this case, I'll use the user table for that, because that's where all of the users of my Dataverse are already pre-populated. And there you can see the power of the common data model, the standard model with the standard tables that already come with it. Just like that, we've created a quick table. I'll save that so it writes it immediately to the actual SQL Server in this case, because this is structured data. And in a matter of minutes, I've created a quick table that we can immediately use in all of our applications, be it model-driven or Canvas or Portal app or anything like that. Immediately, I can create a form for this for our model-driven apps. That's immediately accessible through here. So I can click on the form designer to open up a design for a form. Given that consistent look and feel that we have in our model-driven apps, all I have to do here really is click together the layout, and I don't really have to worry about anything like color and such, because that's all automatically taken care of by our templating system that the marketing department surely has designed something for. So I'll give this a quick name, and I'll give this tab a quick different layout. So I'll make it 2 columns instead of 3 columns. Well, no, actually, yes, 3 columns seems better. I'll drag on the start date, and I'll drag on the end date, and also who requested it. So these are details. Details, and just like that, save it. and publish it. And just like that, we've created a quick form so someone can enter their request. And now we can pull that together in an app. So we can go to our apps and we can create an app. So we could create a Canvas app or a model-driven app. Let's start with a quick Canvas app. So we can create them from any data source really, but I'll just start with a blank one because I want to design the app exactly like I want it. Using a gallery, I can pull data from any data source, including the Dataverse. So we have in our current environment, we have all sorts of tables, standard tables, and now also our leave requests tables, because that's something I created earlier. I can see all of my leave requests right in the app. Well, I don't have any at the moment, but we can remedy that by quickly entering some information into the table. So I'll type the name of the table again. I'll go over to data. Here it's empty as well. I'll add a quick record. And here we'll see that form that we've designed for our model-driven app, what that looks like. So I'll do a quick name. Vacation time. And I'm requesting that for one of the existing users. So I'm requesting it on behalf of Carlos. Carlos is taking a leave of absence from May to, let's say, the last date of May. I'll save and close that. And now it should show up here in my Canvas app as well. It takes a moment to refresh, of course. So I'll just add that gallery again. And there it is. There's vacation time with Carlos. We can do the same thing here by adding, for example, a form on a screen so people can quickly request vacation time. So I'll connect this as well, populate the form, specify which fields I need. So I need, well, the name, that's good. I need the start date, the requester, the start date. I also need the end date. And that created on, that's not really required for me. So I'll remove that. It's like this. Add a submit button to it, because that's also important. The form. This is a form in the new mode, so you can request new ones. And I'll change the text here to request or send request, something like that. Nope, that's not how you type send. Just like this. So that's off time, and this time let's select someone else. Let's select a, well, it doesn't really matter. Let's select Alan. And the experience is slightly different here because this is a Canvas app, so very mobile optimized, as you can see. But the idea is the same. I'll send out that request. Of course, the demo effect is in full effect because an error appears. An unknown error has occurred. That's great. That's just great. But essentially, it should write it back into the Dataverse. I'm not sure why it doesn't do that now. It's very, very unusual that it doesn't do that, because this demo always works, except for now, of course. So apologies for that. That's very strange. Let's try that one more time. Doesn't seem to do anything now. So let's take a look. No, it did. It submitted several times, right? So now it's in the Dataverse, just like that. We've created a quick app that we can give our employees to quickly request time off. We also added a list here so they can see time off that was requested. Perhaps we should add a filter that they can only see their own time off requested, and we can create an app for a manager so that they can see the time off for everyone that was requested. That maybe is better suited as a model-driven app. So we can create a quick model-driven app there so they have a sort of full overview of the process. So let's say time off approval, as a model-driven app, I'll create a sitemap. That's what the buttons are called in a model-driven app, and I'll select the entity, the leave request. I'll probably want some other things here as well, like a dashboard and maybe a list of all of my users. Oh, that's not it. It's called user. Come on. There it is, user, and perhaps a few other things that I don't know now. Well, let's add activities because that's always good thing to start with. Save that, publish that. Of course, I can do this much slower as well, but given the limited time we have, I'm just flying through this. We have our new app ready and waiting here. All I have to do still, though, is to send it, of course, to my colleagues so they know that it exists. And we can go ahead and open that time off approval app. And again, here, servicing from the Dataverse, we have the information that we have written to the Dataverse, in this case, our leave requests. We have all of those records here. I haven't really spent any time on organizing the columns yet, though. We can still do that. I have a list of my users, also a table being serviced from the Dataverse. I have some activities here, so I can write down some tasks and some appointments and things that I can synchronize as well with my Outlook if I want to do that. And here in the Dataverse, I can bring in essentially any information that I want. Servicing Business Central information is also available in the Dataverse using a mechanism called virtual tables. There's a whole article about that. Just in case you want some reading material, be sure to check this out as well. It's very difficult for me to show you that. It's a very relatively technical endeavor, but essentially what this means is that you transform any Business Central table into a Dataverse table so that they also show up here in the Dataverse. And that allows you to do the same things essentially that I've done now. Quickly create apps, both Canvas, Model, and, well, not both, there's 3 of them, Canvas, Model, and Portal apps based on the same technology that you use for the Dataverse, but now actually it's secretly being backed by Business Central. Eventually, of course, Business Central and the Dataverse are growing together more and more. Eventually, most of the tables for Business Central will be available in the Dataverse by default, and we will have less of a separation between those 2 worlds. But for now, we do have that integration with the virtual tables where you can see a Business Central table in the Dataverse as if it is an actual table there, but the data is actually still stored inside of Business Central. Well, with that, I am at the end of this particular topic, so I would like to hand it back. Indeed. So Chris can continue.
Thanks, Michelle. Just lost the sharing a little bit, I think. If you just bear with me. Just click this back through.
Yes, it does get upset with that.
It does when you do a screen share. Hopefully, we'll be able to get it to the right place very quickly. Thanks for that. I think what was really fascinating there, you started off with a model-driven app. You also showed a Canvas app. In my head, as soon as you'd created the model-driven app, I was thinking, right, at this point, can I use something along the lines of Microsoft Forms or similar to capture information, and then can I use Power Automate to kind of bring that information into the Dataverse?
Oh, yes, indeed. If you, not so much with Microsoft Forms, but if you use its big brother, Customer Voice, which is a Dynamics 365 component, which you get included with any Dynamics 365 subscription, essentially what you have is the same experience as Microsoft Forms, but you get it stored inside of the Dataverse rather than it being stored randomly inside of Office 365.
So there's multiple different ways to capture the data. I think you showed a Canvas app, which obviously one of the things when people write apps nowadays, it's how does this render on an iPad, iPhone, Android phone, and Canvas apps are designed to render on any platform.
Yes, absolutely. They will render exactly the same on your iPad as they do on your desktop. The designer is designed explicitly for that purpose, so you can see how it will render on an iPad or any other tablet, really.
And that's key. So long-term maintenance wise, the kind of the core of that platform stuff, or the single biggest cost that used to be involved in creating these kind of apps, the maintenance of the platform and everything else that goes with it is taken care of by Power Platform.
Yeah, absolutely. It's essentially build once, run everywhere.
Thank you. So moving on to the next section in the day, we thought we would help everybody. We wanted to make it real. So it's okay, Michelle, doing the show and tell there, the art of the possible, and highlighting the concepts and what you can do. I asked the UK partner community, and by all means in the survey after, please do share if you've got examples of this that you'd be willing to provide. I asked the UK partner community, and I'm really delighted to have here with us today Gavin Nixon and Sam Clements from Strategy 365, who are going to help us out with the partner showcase. Welcome to you both.
Good afternoon, Chris. Hello.
Hi, Gav. Hi, Sam. Hi, Gavin. So can you, just before we start, can you tell us, Gavin, a little bit about Strategy 365?
Sure, yeah. So we are a Microsoft Gold partner based in Central England in the UK. We focus primarily on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, and we've been providing cloud business solutions for our clients for around 5 years now.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to help the broader audience today understand more around model-driven apps, in particular in the context of a specific customer scenario that you have. I guess we should start with you telling us a bit more about the app, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, Chris.
Right. So if we can, Sam, can you help us understand exactly what it was that you created?
Yeah, absolutely. So in order to solve some of our customers' most business critical needs, we created an end-to-end business management solution built entirely on the Power Platform. And we leveraged 3 of those 4 aspects of the Power Platform that Michelle mentioned earlier through Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI.
Okay, so leveraging the components of the Power Platform, and this sounds really interesting. Then what specifically does the app do? Can we get an insight into kind of the functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. Fundamentally, it does 3 things. So first of all, there's purchase order generation and project lifecycle management, all the way from quote through to cash. There are various integrations, primarily with a third-party timesheet solution, as well as a third-party scanning solution. And there's full project profitability reporting through Power BI.
Right, so purchase order generation, lifecycle management, that to me sounds like a financial system. I mean, we're getting close to ERP territory here, right? So Gavin, what was the thinking around doing this outside of Business Central in a model-driven app?
Yeah, it's a very good point, Chris. So I think 3 key issues really. So firstly, the core users of this system were not financial professionals, they are contract managers. So they required the solution to be more kind of front office focused than back office focused, and therefore needed to be kind of simple, intuitive to use. Secondly, it needed to be extremely flexible, customizable, extensible, and built to suit specific business needs where the users, they needed to be part of the overall finance function, but not necessarily have full access to the accounting data within the business.
Okay.
And then finally, it had to be cost effective from a licensing perspective. So obviously Power Apps not just being low code, but also low cost to license, was a significant driver for them. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So fantastic. I get I'm getting an understanding there of kind of why you wrote it as a model-driven app, and no doubt the benefits to the customer here are significant. So I wonder, Sam, can you give us some insights to help everyone gauge what the actual benefits to the customer were? I mean, what were the things they gained from implementing this?
Absolutely. Firstly, I think that this significantly reduced manual errors and rework because we implemented absolutely the highest levels of automation throughout all of their processes. Secondly, their entire paper trail was digitized. There was no more paperwork waiting for them to be signed off in their offices, piling up on their desks. And it also meant that absolutely zero rekeying of data by users, meaning these natural human created errors were totally eliminated. And finally, near real-time visibility on the total costs of their projects and project profitability, which now meant that business decisions could be made at speed rather than having to wait on information from reports that needed to be produced manually by their finance team on perhaps a weekly or even a monthly basis.
Okay, so very beneficial to the customer indeed, a huge reduction in overall admin overheads, a reduction in mistakes. I guess there's even a kind of a carbon footprint impact there in taking the paper out of the business.
Yeah.
So I guess finally then, for me, these things all come down to tangible commercial impact. If you haven't got that, then what's the benefit? So Gavin, was there, what did this do for the customer if we start talking bottom line?
Yeah, absolutely. So it enabled them to grow their revenues by 50% in the first year with no increase in headcount. It's enabled them to save over £100,000 in direct costs. And it's enabled a fully mobile workforce, minimizing COVID disruption and maximizing productivity across the entire business. Yeah.
Wow. So there are several things there that are pretty significant, right? So increased turnover without increase in headcount, reduced costs,
yeah,
and work from anywhere. I guess with the COVID and the paper being in the office and the whole process, this was something that turned out to be probably more beneficial than they realized when they set about on starting this project.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And can we see on the screenshot there, can we see the dashboard?
So yeah, I mean, this is essentially their kind of overall projects. So this gives them, that real-time feedback from data in the Dataverse that is surfaced and is used every single day to make those key business decisions as to what they can do, where they can move forward, and where they can potentially spend money that hasn't yet been spent.
And I believe this was the customer's first foray into Power Apps and
it was.
Power Automate.
It was. It's been really transformational for their organisation, and they're constantly coming back, going, right, now we've done this. Can we do this?
Which is fantastic.
So, yeah, lots of additional services revenue on the end of it for you as partners too. Gavin, Sam, thank you very much for taking the time here. It's really appreciated. Thanks for kind of making that real.
Pleasure.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
So we're actually running out of time today. We were going to deliver a full-on kind of highlights Wave 1 2021 in-depth technical update. Michelle, we have 7 minutes left in total in the hour, and we have, I think it's about 30 slides. We may want to push some of this to next month. Yeah. I would like 5 minutes just to help folks with any questions they've got. If what I will say, audience, if you want to start dropping a few things into the conversation window, you should be able to type in there. Hopefully, if you want to start dropping those in, Michelle, just if you can do as a quick 2-minute overview, maybe on a couple of PCs, and leave us a couple of minutes for Q&A at the end before we wrap.
Yes, sure. We can take a look at. Everyone can take a look at the guides of what has changed without me going through it. So you can click either of those links. The most exciting things really are all surrounding model-driven apps. There's a whole bunch of additional things coming out. Let me quickly try to find the first one. If you're using, for example, field service or customer service, there's a new schedule board option that now also shows you weekly instead of just a monthly or a weekly and monthly view. There's new capabilities of including knowledge base search. Even if your knowledge base is not stored inside of Dynamics, you can also have SharePoint searched in there as well now. For field service and customer service as well, there's now a portal add-on you can use to track my technician, so you and your customers can see where the technician is right now on their route and how soon will they be at their current destination. There's also a self-scheduling option for your customers now, so they can create their own appointments for the customer service experience. There is an improvement on the global search experience, where there's now some quick actions inside of the search results. The search results is also slightly faster. and there's finally coming some kind of dashboard, although Microsoft is being very vague about it, about licensing in Power Automate, so you can see how many calls you have consumed and how many calls you have remaining, although they're being deliberately vague about when that is and all that jazz. It's coming, is what they have announced. That's pretty much it.
Excellent. Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate that was really rushed. I think it was probably important that you spent the time as you did on the model-driven, the Canvas apps early on there. Thank you for that. The chat is very quiet. I'm wondering if people can actually type in there. Is there any chance of a hello from one of the attendees, just outside of Sam and Gav, who we obviously promoted to presenters? And if nobody can even type a hello, I guess we've kind of MTS, thank you very much for that. We do know that it is possible. That's really appreciated. I guess if I'm thinking about this moving forwards, then if there are no questions, I'm going to get the thank yous. That this is going to be at the same time slot every month, so it's the last Friday or the final Friday of every month at this time slot. The plan is to keep it going. If you could please send us the feedback from the survey link that Ursula placed in the chat. And really, it's very, very simple. Which of the sessions today hit the mark, which missed the mark? And then in the free text, can you let us know if you would like some of the sessions to be longer, to be more in depth? If you've got specific scenarios that you want us to cover from a technical perspective, or you want to see a demonstration. Obviously, Michelle mentioned virtual tables there, and the amount of technical time it would take to set that up. But if you can think of specific scenarios, anything along those lines that you would like us to cover, then we'd be absolutely delighted to help out. So, in the absence of questions, we're going to wrap this one up right here today. Thank you all very much for taking the time to attend. Appreciate your time's valuable. Also appreciate it's Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Take care, and I hope to speak to you again next month.